rise, place your hand over your heart, and join me in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I forgot to ask, is there any changes in the agenda?
There are no changes.
Okay. Next item, we'll move to the the public comments. Is there anyone? I see no one in the audience to address the library board, but is there anyone who wishes to address the library board on items which are not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item. That would be the consent calendar.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. That motion passes 5-0. Now we move to, there's no other motions, and I have one request by Mr. Petropoulos for speaking, for informing us of something.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is just a reminder that November marks the beginning of the library's special focus on veterans. The library has a veteran art display in the stairwell at the library. They're doing a poetry contest with the theme War Comes Home. There's a veterans giving tree in the lobby as well as a heroes map display. They also have a letter writing table where people can take a moment to express their gratitude to our veterans, and they'll receive those in the time for the holidays. So please stop by and do that. And the last thing is a reminder to come and join the library for the grand opening of the new Veteran Resource Center on November 11th at 5:30 p.m. There'll also be a screening of a veteran documentary, Ground Operations from Battlefields to Farm Fields, following the opening. You can also visit the library website at www.camarillolibrary.org or pick up a copy of the library newsletter for more information on what's going on this month.
Again, for the audience, what time does that start?
5:30 p.m.
5:30. Okay.
On Veterans Day, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from the staff? Any other comments?
I don't have any comments.
No other comments? Okay. Board members? Ms. Craven?
Yeah. Could I ask that you briefly tell us again what it is that, in general terms, that we're planning to do for the young people at the high school or for teens?
In terms,
We're going to make some changes to the library.
in terms of the project to expand the library?
Yes.
That would be an expansion out onto what is now the Runnel area to provide an enclosed area or patio for the high school kids and the teens, where they can go after school, et cetera, and go through into what is now our young adults area. That will be kind of closed off and go out into that patio area where they can do their homework, and there'll be certain teen activities, et cetera, which gives a little insulation from the rest of the library.
And the patio area will be newly constructed.
That is correct.
Okay. The reason I ask is because on the tour I did on the city's birthday, not the city librarian, but the librarian who guided our tour said, "Oh no, there will be absolutely no construction out there. We're just going to rearrange everything in here, and it'll all be done right in here." And I thought, okay, I have a misunderstanding.
I just told her I think you're incorrect, because she was.
Well, I didn't say that.
I did.
But anyway,
Right, and
I
since
just wanted to make sure I didn't have a wrong idea.
right, and we're just going through that process and bringing it back to you to start the discussion as to what you'd like to do over there. So I don't know if all the staff is fully informed of the project.
Can I?
No,
Mr.
it hadn't been
I'm sorry.
approved, but she said there are no plans to add anything. I thought, oh, okay, well, I got to check.
Mr. Little?
Thanks.
I just want to, I know we're moving on this, but I sure hope we can get it done at the time that the school opens so that we don't have any, delay between the start of school and the opening of this.
Certainly that is our hope, and we'll be bringing the architects their selection to you this next month, and then certainly once we sit down and get it planned and you approve it, then construction should go relatively rapidly, so we should be on time to
Is it going to be
make the
an
opening.
outdoor open feature, or is it going to have a roof on it or anything? Or?
It will have a roof. The concept design was a patio-like enclosure with a roof and sides and some protection from the elements. Certainly, there's also the ability to completely enclose that and make it an extension of the library. So that'll really be up to the board and you as city council to make that decision once we get the
we'll have
architects.
alternatives to look at.
Exactly. They will come in and we'll actually present you with alternatives, and you'll make that decision.
When will we be looking at these?
Thank you.
I have one, pardon me, Charlotte? Yeah.
When will we be having these discussions? It seems
We are
close enough that I mean, August seems close enough that I'm getting to feel a little anxious.
Yes, and the timeline right now is doable based on what the architects have proposed, and so we'll bring you back a staff recommendation as to the architect, as I said, this next month, and then
Okay.
we'll rapidly proceed from there.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none. Any questions from our staff, or from our board members? We have a motion for adjournment?
Move adjourn.
Do I have a second on there? Okay.
We don't need a second.
We're adjourned. Please vote. I'm sorry. Don't vote, just adjourn.
President's prerogative.
Next.
I will call this meeting of the Camarillo Sanitary District Board of Directors to order and ask the record to reflect that all board members are present. Are there any changes to this agenda?
Are there no amendments?
Public comments, I don't have any cards. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to the Camarillo Sanitary District on something that is not on its agenda? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move to the consent calendar.
Move the approval of consent calendar.
Motion is second. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. There are no departmental or legal items. Comments from staff?
No comments unless Mr. Fox has some comments.
Comments from board members?
I have just one.
Mr. Morgan?
When is our CASA conference in January?
It's on an off-council week. The week after, it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the week after the first council meeting in January.
Okay, so it's the second week, or
I don't know. I don't have my calendar with me. I just know that
the
it's
third week, okay. Okay, that's it.
not on a council week this time.
It's January 15th through the 17th, Wednesday through Friday.
Where is it located?
Indian Wells,
Okay.
15 through 17. It is that's our off-council week.
That's our off week. That one I noted. I guess I forgot. But it starts at 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning, so you have to go out on Tuesday night if you want to be there for the
I might
Wednesday,
go.
Right.
Wednesday activities. Anything else from board members? Meeting's adjourned.
Okay, I'd like to call the regular city council meeting for November 5th to order, and let the record reflect that all council members are present. Amendments to the agenda?
There are no amendments?
Okay. I have one. Can I ask about item N on the consent calendar? Would that be appropriate? I just have a question on that. Maybe, Tom, you might.
When we get to the consent calendar.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead, aren't I? Okay, so no amendments to the agenda here. Consent calendar now. I had one question. Could I?
I have a question.
I'll ask mine first. I guess this would be a Tom question. Just on item N, the agreement for the electrical vehicle charging stations, once it gets approved, Tom, how long will it take them from start to finish to have them up and running? I didn't see that in the...
Yeah, the item before you is actually just an agreement to allow us to have access, basically, to install this at the Metrolink station, and then it would have to be ratified by the VCT, Ventura County Transportation Commission. Once the agreement's in place, then it's just a matter of securing a contractor to install it, which should only take a few months.
Okay.
Could I ask Your Honor, I have a
Right, go
question?
for it. Proceed.
Because if you have, when you've got all the places full out there, everything's full, you have a lot of handicap that's not full. And if you have a charging station right close to the front that's not full, or it's full and nobody else can park there, it seems to me you want to put that down by the handicap area. So it'd be more parking for the people taking the train.
Yeah, a place has already been identified that works from a standpoint of being able to bring power to the location fairly easily without creating a lot of expense to trench and go a long distance to secure the power. So, and I apologize, I don't have a map to show where that is, but it is up near the front.
We're running out of space on both sides now, folks. Both sides of the railroad. And so we got to kind of start paying attention to that, because that's for our commuters. If we start having fewer commuters because our students are using that, both of them.
Well, there are still companies that are using them.
Pardon me?
There are companies that are using them for company parking.
We need to find out what we can do and what's going on down there, because we don't want to cheat. Like I say, you want to keep Metrolink healthy. And the more ride it, the better for us and better for the community. So if there's companies parking there, we got to look and see what we can do about freeing those up. Okay, that's it.
Mr. Little, did you have a question?
I've got a couple questions, actually, on I and J. There are a number. I was trying to read. It seems like there's 3 companies, and they're all going to share in some parts of this project and planning and construction management. Can you clarify this for me?
Yes. Both phases of the bike trail are primarily funded with federal grants, and that has a lot of paperwork and supervision during the construction that has to be documented that we don't generally do in-house. So we're hiring a firm that basically serves as a construction manager, but they'll be essentially following processing all of the paperwork and making sure we're compliant with the federal requirements and so on. So that's one of the firms, which is, I'm sorry, I need to switch back and forth here with glasses, the Caltrop. And then BTC Labs we need soils testing, so as we do with any project where we're paving, we need to make sure the base material, the land underneath the asphalt will support it, so we need some laboratory testing of the soils, and they're providing that service. And then with one of them, the 2 that I just mentioned are involved with both phases, but with one of the phases, Galvin and Company is a environmental firm, and they're only with Phase 3, and that's because Phase 3 is next to the Cayugas Creek, which has some habitat that needs to be monitored to be compliant with federal requirements. The other phase is along the sports park, and the weeds there don't have to be monitored, so we don't need them on that phase. So those are the different consultants that we have to help us with different components of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have consent calendar.
Move the approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. That passes unanimously. All right.
By the way, I'm glad we're moving forward with that widening of the Santa Rosa Road.
Okay, that gets us down to City Manager. Camarillo earned Southern California Edison Gold status.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members, Dan Pernick, Assistant City Manager, has a detailed report on some very good news on our status with Edison.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Dan Pernick, Assistant City Manager. On September 10th, under the city's membership in the Southern California Edison Energy Leadership Program, the City Council directed staff that submit what's called an Energy Action Plan. The action plan outlined efforts that the city will take over the next several years to further reduce energy consumption within city facilities and also to market consumption reduction in the community. I'm pleased to report that the plan has been accepted by Caltrans, and as a result, the city has achieved gold level status within the program. Currently, there are only 2 other cities in the county that have achieved the gold level status for energy conservation efforts. As a part of the program to date, the city has received over $100,000 in incentives toward the completion of various energy-saving capital projects. In addition, we've achieved an estimated $540,000 in electrical savings for a combined total estimated savings of approximately $640,000 since 2009. With the new status level and the implementation of new projects currently in planning stages, mostly in the area of public works, the city can expect to achieve additional incentives and additional higher rate of incentives as a result of the new status over the next several years. So that's very good news. In addition, at the same time in September, the council also directed that staff apply and participate in the Climate Registry Program, which is a national effort aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. I'm pleased to announce that our application of the program has been accepted and we have been approved. I think we're the 4th city in the county to be a part of that program as well. So,
Great news.
Well, yeah.
Excellent news. Mr. Morgan?
You know, to make sure, since we have no newspaper people here this evening, they get the good positive stuff about what's happening in the city. I think this should be submitted to, this article on this should be submitted to both newspapers.
I will put together a press release and get that out in the morning tomorrow.
Great. Thank
Yep.
you very much.
Yeah, Ms. Craven.
We do have the Citizens Review out here. It's one paper, but at any rate, I agree we should
Will
send
do.
a press release. But I wanted, you said that 2 other cities in the county had achieved gold status. Which ones?
Oxnard and Fillmore.
Thank you.
Okay. General Services, Mr. Petropoulos, professional service agreement for the cafe operator.
Thank you, Your Honor. The item before you tonight is an agreement with Chris Inn of Giant Steps Cafe for the operation of the Library Cafe. Staff prepared and noticed a request for proposals for a cafe operator in June and August of this year. 3 individuals attended the mandatory site visit and 2 proposals were submitted. Both proposals we felt were well thought out and presented. However, staff is recommending Chris Inn's proposal as a better fit for the cafe. Mr. Inn is proposing a menu of coffee, hot chocolate, teas, as well as blended drinks, fresh donuts, muffins, biscotti, bagels, etc., cold sandwiches, grilled paninis, and salads, as well as a variety of other snack and light catering items. The initial agreement would be effective from this November for an initial period of 1 year, with a renewal period of 5 additional years by mutual agreement. The agreement may be terminated by either party with 90 days written notice. It is expected that Mr. Inn could have the cafe up and running by the end of November or early December with your approval. And so staff is requesting a motion to authorize the city manager and to enter into a professional service agreement with Chris Inn and Giant Steps Cafe. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is he had some experience in this and whatnot? Do you know what his background is?
His family has owned Kim's business since the 1990, I believe. Kim's Donuts since 1990.
Where do you know where that's located?
It is on Las Posas at that little shopping center that intersects Lewis.
Oh, right there. Okay, the donut shop right there?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And he's been doing he manages that operation, and they've also been doing some business with the university and a couple of other local businesses.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Mrs. Craven had a question?
Just to be clear, this is only for the coffee shop. It's not in any way tied to catering for the community room.
It would be in the fact that they will offer light catering,
But it's not
but it is
exclusive.
not. No.
Okay.
Mrs. McDonald?
Is there any capital outlay or anything we have to do in order to get it ready for the next version of our capital?
For this vendor, no, there is not.
So he can just, okay. And none on his part either, so it'll basically look the same, it'll just have a different menu?
Correct. He will have to bring in some equipment, coffee machines, his panini press, those kinds of things, but there's no a major outlay there. There will be no facelift or change to the building as it is now.
Richard, do you know what his hours of operation are going to be at, or has he set those?
I know what he is projected. If you give me just one moment, I will find that for you. think I'll find it for you.
You can get back to me on that.
You know, I'll have to do that. I'm sorry. I
It
did.
says 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I did have that down. They will not match the library hours. He's going to have a little more restricted hours as he first opens and see how it goes, and then he'll expand according to demand. And I do apologize. I had that. I must have left it on my desk when I walked
Page
out.
A1.
I have a question, Your Honor.
Page A1. Okay.
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Morgan, did you?
When you're looking at the school being completed, in August, supposedly that's when it's going to be completed, ready to go. Is he considering that when he's looking at the items he wishes to serve in there because you'll have more students around?
Absolutely. That was one of the things that we
Perfect.
pointed out in the original RFP, that the school would be there and that it would need to accommodate the students.
I mean, sodas and things are also there, and not just the hot drinks and things, sodas and other things?
He's going to be doing a variety of things
Great.
there.
Okay, good.
Mr. Little, I think he had a question.
I think I found the answer. He's going to be making a monthly payment to the city,
Correct.
3%.
That is correct. Based on the gross revenue.
Thank you.
That's it.
Any other questions or anything?
Move the approval.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. That passes 5-0 unanimously. Okay. We're down to new business now. Mr. City Manager, any new business for you tonight?
A little bit. I've got two items, actually, and I was going to start out on the first one in a broad sense. It was on our bond refunding, and then Mr. Campbell was going to pick up on some of the details. It's a favorable report. Several months ago, the council might recall, staff voluntarily, with the council's direction, went off to refund $18 million in former RDA bond debt. And basically, it's a refi because the interest rates are so much lower now. The results were extremely favorable. And Ronnie's going to report on some of the details of that in a second. But I did want to take the opportunity. A lot of times we talk about taxing entities that share in property tax revenue. And if you can bear with me, I think it's worth going over, and I'll go over them quickly, the 19 taxing entities. The City of Camarillo, of course, and this is not in order of who gets the most and so on. I have those percentages, and they vary, but these are the different agencies that will benefit from this refund. And the refund is approximately $144,000 annually. That'll go on average for roughly 30 years, and there's several $1 million that we're saving overall. So it's the City of Camarillo, the County General Fund, County Fire, Watershed Protection, County Flood, Pleasant Valley Park and Rec, Pleasant Valley County Water, United Water, Cayugas Municipal, Metropolitan Water, Camarillo Healthcare District, Pleasant Valley School District, Oxnard School District, Ventura Community College, College Child Care, County Office of Education, and some ERAF. So these are the agencies, and I'll turn it over to Ronnie now, that will benefit from the savings with less debt service because of the lower interest rate that is with our $18 million bond.
Thank you, Mr. Fink. The only other things that I would like to add is, if you recall the process that was recommended, it was a negotiated sale. We're almost at the point of completing that. The bonds were sold on a negotiated basis October the 21st, and prior to going to market, the bonds did receive, as was expected, a rating from Standard & Poor's of A-. Some factors that contributed to this rating I do want to just stress. It was the strong debt service coverage ratio, the steady AV and tax increment growth within the project area, and then on the rating call they also underscored the cash management practices of the former redevelopment agency, or now in our successor agency capacity. Those three contributing factors were some that contributed to this Standard & Poor rating of A-, and it's actually a very good rating. The only mitigating factor that they really could find was, of course, the concentrated taxpayer base. and that is because the outlet center being a large part of the redevelopment agency. Camarillo has a very good name in the bond market, very well respected, so that also, I think, helped our bond refunding to be received well in the market. When we went to market, that was a very interesting day, timing, and we did get ahead of a couple of big issuances that were coming later on. So from the standpoint of working with Stifel, we felt as though they had marketed the bonds in a manner to be well received in the marketplace, and they structured them to be received well. When we went into this deal, we were anticipating a total savings over the remaining life of the bonds to be around $2.6 million. The actual savings over the life of the bonds is going to be about $3.3 million. Where this translates then into present value savings, to take that amount and to discount it back to present value, net present value, we anticipated, net present value is around $2.4 million. And then putting in terms of the present value savings, recall when we started this process, we mentioned that GFOA best practices, anytime you could achieve about 3% or greater, it was recommended refunding. Through this process, we were able to achieve a 10.32% present value savings on the bonds. So a lot of work, well worth it for all of the taxing entities, of which the city is a minority benefit. The annual average savings, Bruce mentioned that's about $144,000. There are years because of the stream of the bonds when it's projected to be more, but that is to giving you the conservative amount. This 144 is the additional amount or the residual amount that we often refer to now in this redevelopment agency, post AB 1484. This is the additional amount through refunding that will now be available and distributed to the taxing entities after servicing the debt and all of the other enforceable obligations of the agency. So in summary, this refunding saves us pretty significant amounts. We appreciate the direction provided by the council. The official documents were signed this afternoon, a pre-close, and then the final close will take place on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, and then we'll be under the new bond structure.
What question?
Yeah, Mr. Morgan had a question.
What kind of percentage do we get on this bond?
The true interest cost is about 3.76%, and that's about a percentage point down. It was 4.8 under the previous structure, so almost 1.02% less with the current rates. And it was a current refunding as well. I just might add that. Current refunding in the sense of these were 2004 bonds, and traditionally there is a 10-year call provision, so we didn't have to advance and escrow funds. We were well within that call date, the 10 years having passed from the time that the bonds were originally issued, so that also contributed to the savings that were achieved through this restructured process.
That's great.
Mr. Little, do you have a question?
Ronnie, who do we sell this to, and is there going to be any bonds going to be reoffered for public purchase?
There were some offerings that were received. A lot of institutions actually bought them on the day that they went to market. As a part of the agreement, Stifel then, in their underwriting capacity, agreed then to absorb the remaining amounts that weren't picked up in the initial offering, and yes, they will sell those on the secondary market.
Which company was that?
Stifel.
Stifel?
Right, Stifel out of Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Ronnie, did I write this down, about $144,000 per year?
$144,000 annually, yes.
Per year?
Per year.
For the length of the bond?
For the length of the bonds, yes. And I might mention these bonds follow the same time frame, so the bonds are set to mature in 2036. So you're looking at 20-plus years remaining.
Your Honor,
Mr. Morgan, do you have a question?
these are going, of course, this information is going to go to all the people that receive money from this, and they're going to see what we did and how much they're going to benefit and all that, right? Letters would be going to all those taxing entities?
We normally don't do that.
Right.
But
They did receive information of this through the subordination process, so
Right.
they have been notified as to the offering when we prepared the preliminary official statement, and we had at that point estimates of what we were going to achieve through this refunding. They've been put on notice that through this process that they will get some additional residual through the AB 1484 process. So in response to your question, no additional notice will be going out, but they have been advised. And certainly as the cash begins to flow, I think there's the opportunity to highlight it at that point.
The reason I brought that up is one thing I've learned through this election is we need to be more informative about things that we're doing. Sometimes it's a lot of good things we're doing that don't get out to the general public.
But for 19 taxing agencies, is it that much per agency?
The percentage varies quite a bit. The lowest amount could be as low on the 144,000 annually. Could be as low as $38 annually, and it could be as high as 44,700 annually. That would be the county. That's correct.
I would also note that the Oversight Board, which is comprised of the larger taxing entities, would be aware because they approved the refunding, and we will report out to them at our next meeting the results of the refunding. So those larger ones that are seeing the larger amounts of savings will be aware, and we'll summarize these numbers for them at that meeting.
If the council is directed or interested, you certainly could direct us to follow up, at least for the immediate letter after, not every year, but an immediate letter to explain what we did and what the results were. It's up to...
Well, somebody's only going to get $38 a year. Why send the letter? I
Yep,
mean,
some are getting 44,000 a year.
that's the county.
And it's not a direct.
How many others are close?
Because all they're doing is they're getting more of they're not as much as having to go to service the debt, so it's not this direct, write a check and here it is kind of thing.
And I can underscore again, every taxing entity has received notice through the subordination process. A letter was prepared for all of the taxing entities, so they're aware of this.
That's fine.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I do
Agree.
too. Okay, anything else, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, we have a trolley. In case you have, it's still going around town. We have some interesting numbers, I think, some favorable numbers to report back on the ridership, and Tom has those details.
Your Honor, years ago when I first started working for the city, the entire transit system that served the entire community averaged 2,500 rides per month. The trolley during October carried 2,900 rides. So that was much more than we had expected. The average per day was about 94, including weekdays. During the weekday, there wasn't as much ridership. It averaged about 70 rides per day on the weekdays. On the weekend, or Friday and Saturdays, it averaged about 150. So to compare that with one of our typical dial-a-ride vehicles, dial-a-ride vehicle carries maybe a little over 30 trips per day. So the trolley was definitely busy, carried a lot of all different types of customers. There were, young kids, students, all the way up to elderly couples out for a ride and just enjoying the community. Most of the rides, the top locations where people were boarding or getting off the trolley were at the shopping centers. So either people were parking and using it to go to other locations or what have you, but it certainly seems to be that the demand is well distributed around the loop. So it's not all people getting on at one location going to another location. So it seems to be accomplishing what we hoped it would. It certainly was successful during the month of October, and we're hopeful that as we now proceed into the holiday season that it can provide some benefit as people shop at the outlets and go to Old Town and some of the shopping centers in the area.
Question? Tom, when it comes time for the Christmas holidays and what would you call that, the mad rush, how's that? Will that slow our trolley down?
Generally, because the trolley's on the arterial streets, it will not slow the trolley down except for what I would call the Black Friday weekend, going through the outlets. Those 4 days we may have to look at some kind of alternative arrangement because it may be difficult to get through the outlets during the peak. But we're talking 4 days, and we'll just have to manage that as we manage the entire event at the outlets during that 4-day period.
Mrs. Craven, do you have a question?
Yeah. What kind of records are we keeping on shoppers or, we all have different circles we travel in, and one circle I travel in is people who have kids in daycare, and from what I hear, it's the most popular entertainment for children, once a week rides. So I was just wondering, are we keeping track of how many people just get on and do a loop and never get off until they get back to where they got on? Yeah,
the The only person on the vehicle is the driver, so all he is able to do is, as people board and alight, is record the number of people that get on and off at each stop. It's his general observations that we're relying on to tell us what the customers are. Is it typically one user group or a variety? And the report is that it seems to be a variety, and there isn't necessarily any one particular user group that is dominant.
And what is that?
No, I'm saying there is not.
Oh, there's not.
A particular
I'm sorry.
group that's
I
dominant. It
misunderstood
tends
what
to
you
be a good mix.
Nor location that's dominant. It seems to be very spread out throughout the route.
Yeah, correct. They do have the number of alightings and people getting off and on the trolley at each of the locations, and the shopping centers tend to be the most popular, but all of the stops have people boarding and alighting.
Can I follow up on that one? I thought that when we talked about this initially that we were going to do some kind of tracking, because at some point in time we're going to have to decide, how it's really being used. So if we don't have that data, what are we going to do? Well,
Okay, and I may have misunderstood. I think we had kind of partitioned it into three categories. The two extremes, one is that it's just a complete failure and nobody's using it, and we don't need much data to figure out if nobody's using it, we don't need to run it anymore. The other category, the other extreme would be that we get quite a bit of use, and it doesn't matter who's using it, it's getting quite a bit of use. The third was if we kind of are in that middle where we were talking about a performance measure of 30 trips, if we're around 30 trips, maybe we need to start collecting more data, which means we're going to have to sit somebody on the trolley to collect that data and pay them to give us better insight as to whether it makes sense to continue it or not. At this point, I would put it in the category that it's been a success. We're getting a lot of ridership, and I don't really know if collecting more data is going to be necessary to make a decision. But if you want us to hire somebody and put them on the vehicle, we'll do that.
Well, I think at some point in time you need to do a test one, because particularly because they're selling, I guess the advertisement goes around and it's on the car, and it doesn't matter who's on the trolley, the outside advertisement works. But if a shopping center is paying a part of the fee, or let's go back to the university. If the university is helping to pay for this, I would think they would want to know how many of their students are actually using it.
Yeah.
So it's not just us. And if it is indeed being part of those riders or for the amusement of it, that's great. But that doesn't necessarily equate to the whole purpose being the shopping excursion.
What you're asking for is referred to as an on-site interview. That's done from time to time, and you can hire consultants to do that. And if it's the direction of the council, we'll do that.
Mr. Little, I think you had a follow-up here.
I frankly don't see the need for anything like this. And as mentioned, if someone gets on, are you going to ask them, each of them, are you a student? Are you a resident? Are you a visitor? There's no need for it at this point. Now, I agree with Tom. If at some point in time it becomes the ridership becomes marginal, then maybe we need to get into more detail of what we got out there. But it seems to me, from what he said, is that we're doing well, and so if someone gets on and rides around one time, I doubt if they're going to ride all day. So it seems to me that it doesn't matter whether they don't get off.
I think we're going, Your Honor, I think we're going to get more and more usage. I don't think it's going to go backwards. I think as people understand it, because when I talk to people, for instance, the opening of Manhattan Restaurant, talked to a lot of people in there about this. Oh, they've got that? Yeah. Oh, they don't even know where the stops are. But as this gets around, there's going to be more and more using that thing. And we're already surprised at how many using it now.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. My whole reason behind this is the accountability. And when you put a new program into place, no matter what it is, and we say that we're going to have some measurement and success, that's the accountability that we as a governmental agency needs to do, particularly in a partnership with businesses, to have that accountability. And it seems to be on us to provide that. And it can be as simple, I don't think we have to go out and hire some expensive consultant, pay a college student to ride around, or some kind of way of measuring it. It doesn't have to be an expensive endeavor, but it's accountability for how we spend other people's money.
I agree wholeheartedly, but it's not on the agenda now, but I think at some point we need to talk about that.
Well, I can tell you, I think most of us got that little brochure that was handed out. It's very well done, and I've got some on my checkout counter, and I've been handing them out quite a bit. There was, for instance, there was a gal that went over to the Target Center to do some shopping and then waited for the trolley to come back and came back to our center because she came in and she told me how great it was and how long it actually took her. So there is some of that. Now, there could very well be, you know, some kids I've taken it about 4 times, and although I'm, you know, earlier in the morning, so it might not be as much there. But I think we got to get this thing going, and at some point, then we need to get
We need to find out who the writers are.
exactly see after it gets established here.
Your Honor, I agree. We need accountability, but I think we need to let it settle in for a while and see how it works, and see if it starts getting into that marginal area. I think then we'll have a conversation on it. But as far as I know, the standard for success in the transit business is number of riders. It doesn't matter what they're there for.
That's usually it when they're paying, but this is not a paying situation. So we're asking businesses and the university to contribute, and I think at some point we're going to need to be able to tell them if they're actually shoppers and the percentage and that kind of thing. But as I said, it's not on the agenda tonight. It was just a question.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I am done.
May I ask a question of the city manager since we have time tonight? Do we have a timetable, speaking of the former redevelopment, when we'll have back from our consultants some idea of any of our projects? Is there a timetable for that now that he's on board?
Yeah, we were expecting something back at the end of October, and we pushed it 1 month out. So hopefully
month or
before
so?
the end, yeah. And we did prioritize the fire station, the old fire station.
Anything else, Mr. City Manager? Time?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney, anything for you?
I have no items.
Okay. City Council, okay, let's start with Ms. McDonald. Do you want to start us tonight?
Certainly. Well, first of all, being the day after an election, I want to thank the public, the voters who voted to re-elect me and show confidence in me for 4 more years. So I truly appreciate that, and I'm honored to continue and look forward to serving my community for another 4-year term. Speaking of the election, moving on, are signs. And I can declare, unless there's one out there they missed, all of mine are picked up. And I hope that the winners and the losers will follow our rules, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Norman, but I believe it's 7 days after the election. So I'm hoping that happens, because our town was certainly full of campaign signs.
It's fun to note, Your Honor, while you're doing that, it's fun to note that all the gas stations, took them all down the first day, gone.
One gas station still has one sign.
Yep, it got stuck back up.
Ms. McDonald, do you want to?
Certainly, thank you. Let's see. I do want to mention the meetings that I had that were Brown Act meetings, and one of them being the VCOG Admin Committee meeting. As you know, I am the chair of that committee this year. And we have so many topics. We have quite a problem picking what to choose. So that's a good thing when we have so many. Our next meeting is going to have a topic which I think is going to be something we've talked about needing, and that's group homes, whether they're licensed, unlicensed, and how they're affecting communities. So that will come in January. So I'm hoping to not only hear what other cities are doing, but we'll have some people who've really dealt with it on the legal side and dealing with it from a code enforcement side. So hopefully they'll have a lot of documentation that we can bring back, because it's something that would certainly affecting our community as well. The last one is a very sad one, and of course we all, I think most of us attended the memorial service yesterday for our deputy that we lost, and it was, it's really a tragic day. But I do want to say that I compliment the Sheriff's Department and everyone who put it together. It was truly a wonderful way of remembering a special individual's life, and really showed, I hopefully showed his family how much he meant to us. His parents came from the Ukraine, and I was thinking afterwards, I'm sure they were overwhelmed by it all, but when they go home, I think they will take with them an absolute memory of realizing how much he meant to the community, how much he meant to this country because of the showing at that. It was just a phenomenal experience to be there and to feel that true grief, sharing of grief, but true love of country. And it was, so my hat's off to the Sheriff's Department. I'm sure you had a great hand in putting it together, and it truly was a great tribute. So I appreciate being able to be there and be a part of it. It meant a lot. So a very sad day. And with that, I think that's all I have.
Ms. Craven, anything tonight for you?
I have several things. Yesterday I attended the RDP 21 meeting, and it was very interesting. It was the interim commanding officer of the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Port Hueneme Division, which is one of the tenant activities at Navy Base Point Magoo. And he explained some changes that are taking place there and a peek into what maybe we can expect in the future. His passion is technology transfer and how they can share what they develop with the local businesses and not so local businesses, and how much it will bring to Naval Surface Warfare Center. It's a Navy facility, and they do in-service engineering, and they do a lot of testing for other countries and other government agencies. So they're an enterprise fund, so to speak. They don't get any government money unless it's doing a test for the Air Force or something like that. So one thing he threw out is that they have a lot of engineers who could get a lot more money other places, but their average government salary there is $98,000 a year. Wow. He also said that last year there were 4,500 different visitors to this particular tenant activity, which meant translated into 20,000 hotel nights. So that's good for the local economy. And I asked him later, I didn't ask him then, but he said, yeah, he thought a lot of them stayed in Camarillo. The LA Times, I don't know how many of you take it and how many of you read it, but they have had a series of articles, I don't know if it's a series or just a bunch of articles, on water. And I found them very interesting. For instance, this one place in Laguna Beach that has Mission Viejo, that has a private lake that's all potable water, and they're still filling it with all potable water. And then this map, I think maybe we can't reproduce it, but maybe the city clerk could put a routing slip on it and everybody could have a chance to look at it. And this is week by week from 2012 through last week of how the drought, you can just see how the darker the red, the more the drought has been affecting. And it's come in really fast. And then there was one in today's paper which talks about, and we weren't mentioned, that's good, the highest water consumption in California and the lowest water consumption in California. The lowest was San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, which is understandable. They don't have yards to water. The highest was a whole bunch of it. Pardon?
They don't have ag either.
They don't have anything to water except a few parks here and there. The highest was mostly in San Diego County throughout, but also Orange County and Palm Springs. So this is just stuff I'll leave, and if anybody's interested, I just found those articles really interesting. And speaking of water, here's a little flyer, and I'm getting around to something with this flyer, but when you pay utility bills in different cities, you find out what different cities send out in their utility bills. And the city of Oxnard has a series of classes for people on, one's on watersheds, Ventura Watersheds basic class, hands-on workshop for developing your kind of garden. All of this is getting people to use less water. Mulching, hands-on workshop, planting and irrigation, learn how to develop ocean-friendly gardens. And I thought it was really interesting. And I don't know, these have to be with the help of some merchants in Oxnard. And I'm just wondering if there aren't some nurseries or something nearby that, I'm going to pass this along, that we could get to do something like that in Camarillo, because I think the more people learn how to handle drought-tolerant stuff and how to plant it on the edges. We have a lot of lawns that slope toward the street, and that all goes for runoff, and people are getting cited. Well, they could get cited. I don't know if they are or not, but for runoff, because we don't want any water running to waste. And the more they learn about how they can have some lawn up on top and that runoff can then water their plants, I think it would be good. But if we could find some nurseries to offer those kinds of classes, and then if we could distribute the schedules of the classes in our utility bill inserts, I think it would be really, really good.
Camarosa has that program too, so maybe we can go to Camarosa.
Tap in with Camarosa. I don't know. I just think we need to be telling our people something other than don't do it.
We could send them to Oxnard.
We could. Good. And speaking of water conservation, I know we signed something with a company to do our promotions for water conservation and to do more. Where do we stand with that?
Lucy's on her way down now.
I see.
That.
Good evening.
Good evening.
They are Green Media Promotion. Green Media Creations is doing enforcement of our water conservation ordinance 20 hours a week. They're changing their schedule around, and this month, the month of October, there was a continued savings of water of 13.4%. And what we noticed in this month of October is that the citations weren't as frequent. So people are starting to become more aware of the water conservation, asking a lot of questions on what they can do to help. So what we're planning on doing now is actually bringing a separate water conservation outreach effort that to council for consideration at the next, I think at the meeting of the 19th, and we can talk a little bit about what the public outreach, basically taking it on to the next step. But what we're planning on doing internally as a staff, we were thinking about having a monthly direct mailing notification to our customers about educating them on water conservation tips, not just, I think the next one we're preparing is some sort of a magnet that they can attach to the refrigerator on what their watering days are, some sort of tools for them to save water.
The reason I'm asking is because when we've talked about this starting last February, and then I think at the budget session, and we've talked about it several times, and I thought the utility committee was going to be used somewhat in helping develop this program.
Yeah, that is the effort. What we wanted to do is first have the consultant on board and have them come up with a strategy for us before, and then bring it before the utilities committee.
Okay. Sometimes it's good to have discussions before they say, here's our strategy, take it or leave it, or now we got to spend a lot of time in changing it. So sometimes it's better to get the conversation going before they've made their minds up
Okay.
on a strategy to present, you know? I mean,
yes.
we know the strategy. The strategy is to get information out there on how to conserve water.
Point taken.
Okay, and the only other thing I had was that I had the opportunity to attend the reception and the talk by Sandra Day O'Connor last week at the university, and it was very interesting. It turned out that I had lived for a year in a very, 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 very little town in southwest New Mexico that abutted her ranch, and everybody was talking to her about cases, and I didn't know much about the cases she had been a pivotal decision on, so I said, oh, they said you grew up in El Paso, and she said, no, I didn't. I grew up in a little town in southwestern New Mexico. They sent me to El Paso to school because where I lived there were no schools. And so I lived in a little town that abutted her ranch, and she seemed to think that because her name was Day, I should have realized that that was the ranch that abutted this little town. And it was about the last place in the world I would have thought of a Supreme Court justice coming from.
I heard she was great.
She was. She was great. It was a very, very good opportunity. So that's all I have.
Your Honor, I missed one, if I could add before we go too far. And the water reminded me. We did get some water.
Yes,
last
we
week.
did.
And does anyone have an update on the Cam Springs situation as far as, are we cleaned up or where we are?
Yes, we're in pretty good shape. We actually have a special agenda item at 7:30, and when we're going to go into a lot of detail. If we could wait till then, if that's appropriate.
Under the emergency,
Yes.
you'll go into good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Little, anything tonight?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I attended the funeral of the officer Kusikchenko, and I was like the other councilwoman, very impressed with how it was handled. It was dignified and very, very moving. It's just a tragedy that something like that could happen so senselessly by people who just don't think what they're doing. In any event, it was something that I'll remember for a long while. I did attend the Camarillo Ranch Foundation board meeting last night, and they're gradually getting the new people involved in their operations, and they're taking lead. It's my understanding we're going to have at least 4 people who will not be seeking to be reappointed, so we're going to have some vacancies again. I also did attend the Adolfo birthday celebration that the ranch had that was put on by the docents, and that was very well attended. It's grown a bit every year, and it's free to the public, and they have a lot of things for kids, and they have a very large make very large use of the barn to have the various organizations in the city present historical events of their organization as it relates to the city's 50th anniversary, and it was very well done. And finally, just want to offer my congratulations to the 3 colleagues who were reelected, and look forward to working with you for the next couple years. And I think that's about it.
Mr. Morgan?
I won't go too much in depth on the memorial service because that was a very, very touching ceremony, and the whole thing. There were police officers from everywhere: San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County, Ventura County, High Patrol, Los Angeles County, Orange. Those are the ones I saw. But that I've never seen a conglomeration of more police officers than that one spot. And it was a tribute to this gentleman who was truly a nice guy. because that's what came out of this. He was a very nice guy. You'd like to get to know him as a friend. That's the kind he was. But again, it was one of the largest turnouts since I saw Ronald Reagan ride through the area, his casket. Manhattan opened up, a new restaurant over in next to Leisure Village. Folks, you got to go. I mean, they've got some of the best entertainment I've seen. They're from New York, and they nightly, especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, you know that Leisure Village likes good entertainment. Well, now you may have to get a reservation on those nights. That's how crowded it is. And the food, fantastic. Cannelloni, you got to get some cannelloni. Anyway, we've got a new asset to our community. And so we've got another, again, entertainment venue, so it's good for us. Went to the Dolphin birthday party. Again, that was well attended, very well handled by the ladies especially. And my wife was a docent. She was there handing out stuff. So I just like to thank all those who made that happen. So, and that's it. The rest of my time is consumed being busy for 2 weeks with this election. That's it.
Some of the meetings that I attended, I was interviewed at Time Warner Cable October 24th, and I did talk about the trolley, so that was kind of neat. All of us attended also the Channel League dinner, the 24th. And we were all there, I believe, too, at Adolfo Camarillo's 150th. That was wonderful. They did a good job of putting that together. I believe Mr. Morgan and myself, we were at the Halloween party at Leisure Village, right, Michael?
I forgot about all that.
I didn't know who you were because you had a outfit I wasn't prepared to identify you with.
Kevin came as like he's in prison. You know, he has the hat on and the whole stripes. And someone asked him, "Oh, you're mayor?" "Oh, figures."
That's true, I did.
I had to hide with a Dracula outfit.
Yeah. I attended the Pleasant Valley Christian School's 25th birthday celebration, the 30th, and that was really good. They had a T-shirt and they had our logo on it. They did a really good job with that. It was really neat. Also, I attended the Dos Caminos School 50th anniversary, and that was very well attended and very well done as well. Let's see. And today we had the bond signing. I was there as well. I want to congratulate Mike and Charlotte and Jan for their re-election. It's great news. I think, as all of us, we look forward to serving with you in the future here. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know all of you worked very hard. I believe that's it at this particular point. So what we'll do at this point is we're going to recess to the water and sewer rate review, and we'll be back at 7:30. So with that, we're in recess. Okay, I'd like to reconvene the City Council meeting, please, and let the record reflect that all the council members are present. The flag salute, I'll ask Mrs. Craven tonight if you would lead us, please.
Please rise, place your hand over your heart, and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, presentations. We have the Kiwanis Peanut Day again. Come on up, yay! Oh. If you'd like to make your announcement at the podium, yeah, it's this is a special night. We look forward to this. I believe the microphone is on. I don't know if you want to make any comments at this time, or you can come up here if you want to do it. Yeah, Brian's got the mic.
This is the 22nd year.
Let's just for the TV purposes here. Yeah.
All right, this is the 22nd year that we've been doing this, and we want to thank the City Council for supporting us, and the people of Camarillo who support us every year. With this little raising event that we have every year, it enables us to spend a few $1,000s supplying the fire department, for example, with infant car seats. The fire department has an education program that works with people who are involved in traffic accidents very often, and they find that the infant car seats are not properly put in, or they're outdated or non-existent. So if we supply them with car seats, then they're able to take care of it and give it to people who need assistance in purchasing one. We also use some of the funds for safety helmets for the for the police department to pass out to kids and adults who are flying around town on bicycles without helmets, and I'm sure you've seen some of those. So we're about at a point where they need to be resupplied, so that's what the money's going for. And we appreciate the help that we get. So on Saturday, we have key clubbers, key wins, kids from Rio Mesa, and our club in Camarillo High School helping us out at the retail centers around town, passing out little free bags of peanuts and very thankfully accepting donations. So that'll end our peanut drive for this year. And of course, things the way they look right now, we'll probably be back again next year around this time.
Good.
So thank you very much for this opportunity. So
We always look forward to it. John, do you need to get a picture of them? I know you have your camera here. And
Well, it's a picture handing us peanuts and us handing him the $1.
Sure.
We'll pass out the peanuts here.
While they're doing that, I want to tag on to something he said earlier, Your Honor.
Sure. We'll proceed.
And that is, a lot of people don't understand that the plastic in children's car seats degrades, and every car seat has an expiration date stamped onto it and stamped into the plastic. And you should take a look, especially if you're buying one at a garage sale, because once it starts degrading, it compromises the car seat. It's not nearly as strong as it is before that expiration date.
And very often they're passed down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they figure once they bought it in the family, it should go on to the next generation. And it really doesn't work out that way as far as safety is concerned.
That's a good point. Thank you very much.
Did you get the peanut?
Sorry, yeah. Yeah. I took some pictures of that.
For peanuts, is that what I'm hearing?
Thanks a lot, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Okay. Now's the time for public comments. Any cards tonight? No. Okay. Anybody want to make any public comments? Everybody all right? Would you like to come up? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll get you in just a second here. Okay. Public hearings, we do have one item tonight. It's a resolution of a necessity to acquire property by eminent domain, Santa Rosa Road widening. It is an advertised public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing, and then we will continue the public hearing to November 19th, 2014.
You should probably ask if there's anybody that happens to be here tonight that wanted to speak on it.
Okay, is there anybody that wants to speak on this particular item tonight? No. Okay, so with that, I'm going to open the public hearing, and I will continue this hearing until the November 19th, 2014 meeting. Okay. We don't have any departmental items, but on this agenda, if you allow me, we're going to adjourn in the memory of Deputy Eugene Konstanchenko. And I have a little bit of some words I'd like to talk about Deputy Eugene Konstanchenko. Deputy was born January 30th, 1973, and he unfortunately passed away October 28th, 2014. Ventura County Sheriff Deputy, real name was Yevhen Konstanchenko, affectionately known as Eugene, passed away on October 28, 2014, while on duty after being struck by a drunk driver. He was just 41 years old. Eugene was raised in the Ukraine. He was fluent in English, Farsi, and Russian. He served in the Ukrainian military and was quickly promoted to the rank of lieutenant commander. He traveled throughout the world, assisting with translations and investigations of transnational crime. In the late 1990s, he traveled to the United States to assist the FBI with an international money laundering case. And on this case, he met his wife. They were married, and Eugene moved to the States to begin a new life with Mara. Within a short period of time, began working with the Ventura County Office of Emergency Services. Eugene pursued his dream and attended the academy, achieving the position of sheriff deputy, where he proudly served for 11 years. Eugene was a selfless man who loved his family, his friends, his dogs, and all of God's creatures. His passions included good Ukrainian vodka, wine tasting, cigars, the LA Kings, hiking, kayaking, cars, and swimming at the beach regardless of whatever the water temperature was. Anyone who knew Eugene loved him dearly. They've set up some donations. With his love of animals, animal rescue causes were near and dear to Eugene's heart. Donations may be made in the honor to Ventura County Animal Services at www.vchca.org/animal services. Donations can also be sent or delivered to the Deputy Sheriff's Association, which is VCDSA-FBO, Deputy Eugene Konstanchenko, 981 South Victoria, Ventura, California, 93003. Donations can also be mailed or delivered to any branch of the Ventura County Credit Union. As you've seen in our city, blue ribbons are placed throughout the city on Las Posas Road, Carmen Drive, Ventura Boulevard, and O'Neill Road in honor of Deputy Konstanchenko. They are also available at City Hall for those wanting to display them. Any donations for the ribbons is appreciated. Many of us attended Deputy Konstanchenko's funeral. The Sheriff's Department did a wonderful job. He was the best and brightest that the city has to offer. Godspeed. Okay. Don't go home yet. We have another special meeting for Wednesday, November 5th, 2014. This is a special meeting. Let the record reflect that all the council members are present. Amendments to this agenda? Are there any amendments to this agenda?
No amendments.
Okay, we're going to go down to item 2. It's a resolution confirming the existence of a local emergency, and I will ask the staff, Mr. Feng, would you like to take over for this?
Yes. I'm going to start out, Mr. Fox, and then Mr. Fraser will also have some comments, and it seems like there's some members of the public also that would like to comment. Unfortunately, I got another call early in the morning, and thank goodness this time it was only the loss of property that, but late Halloween night, October 31st, early November 1st, as you know, we were hit with a deluge of heavy rain that created a mud flow in the Camp Springs area, damaging homes, the Conejo Mountain Memorial Park, some of the Camp Springs golf course, and a portion of a strawberry field. Early that morning, the city's director of emergency operations, that would be me, acting at that time, issued a proclamation of existence of a local emergency beginning November 1, 2014. And this is the item on your special meeting agenda this evening, is to propose a resolution for City Council to confirm the proclamation of local emergency for the recent heavy rain impact. In Ventura County, a local proclamation allows the communities involved to be eligible for reimbursement as prescribed by state law if a minimum threshold of damage is determined. And that threshold is pretty high. It's almost $3 million. It's around $2.8 million. I don't think we would hit that, but you never know how the interpretation of the rules will be. If unfortunately we get hit with more rain and there could be a series of damage, but it's still the right thing to do, I believe. Whether we hit that number or not, it would not be right to predetermine that amount. The Ventura County Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services is expected to complete damage assessments for the sites in and around Camarillo next week, and the city staff will provide our city-related costs associated with the response in the Cam Springs area. By law, the city must issue and confirm a local proclamation within 10 days after an incident in order to be considered for disaster funds. And that's what this item is tonight, to be considered for disaster funds with the adoption of the proposed ordinance. And before I turn this over to Mr. Fox and Mr. Fraser for additional information, I did want to also note that thank you very, very much to the excellent work that the fire staff, police, public works, a number of other city employees did in the excellent response, and then we're now in the recovery, the aftermath, and we're working closely with the residents, and we'll continue to do so. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fox or Mr. Fraser. It's up to you guys who wants to go first, but it looks like John's headed this way.
It's on, John.
Thanks, Bruce. We also have the Director of the Office of Emergency Services in Ventura County, Kevin McGowan, is in the audience with us this evening for support. The council members do have 3 pages of photos from the incident that are up on the dais, and the first 3 photos are of the home of Henry and Marie. And they are, and Mr. Needham's in the audience, Henry and Marie Needham, and Mr. Needham's in the audience tonight. And it was just kind of indicating the extent of the damage. We've been out there several days taking photos. One interesting shot is on the second page, if you'll look. That's a shot on Gitano Avenue, another street that was affected. And the top 2 on the left and right are actually photos of the same area 2 days apart. So that's how it looked on Saturday morning with the inundation of mud. And after our crews were out there cleaning it up, that's how it looked on Monday morning. So we got there and tried to do the best we could. Mr. Needham's case, it's pretty significant. His home is damaged. He's probably got about 5 feet of mud inside his home. So we've still been working with Sheriff's OES. We were out there today with the National Resources Conservation Service, and they are probably going to reassess a report that they did about a year and a half ago after the fires to determine mitigation measures. The funding for that will have to ultimately come down from a congressional allocation, and we can interact with the Homeowners Association about that. But if there's any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
New question. Yeah, Mr. Morgan has a question, John.
I was out there that morning too, and I can see all this, and you were really working. You're on top of the hill and everything. This one picture, is this the golf course?
Yeah, Camarillo Springs. That's around the 10th hole at Camarillo Springs. Mm-hmm. They've had there, and if you are familiar with the golf course along the 7th hole, also there's quite a bit of they're doing quite a bit of work along the culvert there, and as Mr. Fing noted in the report, there was also damage to Conejo Mountain Memorial Park and to some strawberry fields in the area. These are all areas that had been affected previously by the fires, and which is very important since without the damage to the fires, I don't think we'll be here. I was speaking to Mr. Needham beforehand, and he's lived in the home since 2001, and he's never had an issue with any rainfall until now, post-fire. So that's a very important issue.
Good.
Mr. Little?
John, what specifically, let's assume that we do qualify, what specifically is a result of that qualification? What does that provide to us, to Mr. Needham,
Well,
to the homeowners association, and so forth?
Yeah, what that does is there's different areas of they call public assistance PA or individual assistance IA through FEMA, and they would have to enter. That threshold just gets them in the door, and then they would come and determine. A lot of it is based on properties that are insured versus uninsured, and how they're going to provide assistance. So it would have to, it's really on an individual basis, but we can't even get there unless we determine that threshold's met.
Just one other question. Just one other question. What is the timetable on this process? I mean, you say we adopt it tonight. What can we expect an answer in 30 days or?
Well, we're Kevin McGowan's office. They're looking to have the figures and the damage assessment next week. So we should be able to find out exactly how much damage we're dealing with next week. So.
But what's the timeline past that?
Well, it's you have 10 days from the time you issue the emergency proclamation. There's a 10-day period within that. But in order to get all the information documented, on other issues I've dealt with FEMA, and there really wasn't a specific timetable they told on some of the previous floods we've had. Sometimes it might have taken 6 months, but they were very good about following up on everything. They document everything that was documented. As long as we have everything documented, they will follow up with us. But to put a specific time frame on it's kind of hard to do.
If I could add, typically the requesting party that would qualify, that would be the city and the fire police. They would be highly motivated to submit ASAP to get reimbursed. And then once the information in proper form and detail is submitted, then they do, because there is a template of it, how it needs to be submitted. The response is pretty quick. But it's on our back, the agencies, to submit. And we would be motivated to be reimbursed. The individual, I think it's what John said. It's a case by case. They've got to deal with insurance, the different insurance contracts.
What's different, say, about this issue than, say, when we had flooding on some of our streets is the Camarillo Springs community is a private community. It's all private streets. The property, the HOA maintains that. It's sort of a different situation here. So.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. McDonald.
The city will do what we can do to help the HOA and the homeowners.
Absolutely, yeah. And and Tom's going to talk a little bit about that now as well, in terms of the process, in terms of preparing, in terms of recovering. So
part of the process for the NRCS in the mitigation measures is we actually act as the agent for the HOA during that application process. So.
Okay.
John, how many houses are we?
There were 20 houses that were affected in various measures. Kevin's crews, our staff, we were out there on Monday, and we knocked on every door, went into every backyard and checked. Mr. Needham's home was the most significant. Some simply had levels of mud that came in. In Mr. Needham's case and a couple other homeowners' case, mud did enter the houses. So. Mm-hmm. But about 20 homes were affected.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mr.
Yeah, just one thing, because when I went out there, I went up above to see someone, and there was mud. I couldn't figure out where this mud coming from. This is up here above that. Well, there's two other drainage canals or drainage channels that came from the burned area that poured mud out on the street, not as thick as down below. But you could see where all that damage from the fire just pushed it all around the park and out in the other areas he's telling you about.
Okay, Mr. Fox, did you want to add?
A lot of it's already been explained, but I'll just add a little bit more, starting with the event. And again, although they are private streets, the city's here to help in an emergency. And so the first responders were the fire department, the police department, and public works. And our primary role was to manage the incident and make sure everybody was safe and everything was safe before we leave, and then also to make sure we restored mobility to the community. There was quite a bit of mud that came down into the streets, a number of the streets, We ended up removing about 4,000 tons of mud and debris. And obviously that type of operation is something we're more equipped to be able to handle an emergency than the Homeowners Association, which is why we stepped in. We, of course, had our standby public works person there right after midnight, and then ramped up from there, had 10 public works staff out removing debris. We did actually call in some additional resources, some other trucks, some other equipment, a loader, to be able to move the dirt as quickly as possible. Again, our role being to restore mobility, and then we stepped away, and the Homeowners Association is now coming in to finish the cleanup as far as street sweeping and removing mud from yards and so on. So Public Works is now off the incident. However, we are still coordinating. We've met with the Homeowners Association board. We've provided them with a number of contacts for different consulting services. They need a geotechnical engineer. One of the things that we wanted to do to make sure, before we leave, we coordinated with the county geologist to make sure the hillside was stable. And the good news is that this was a mud flow. This was mud and water coming down, not a landslide. So the types of things that people might be concerned about, at least they don't have to worry that it's a good, solid, stable hill, but there is mud that could come down and did come down. But we felt it was safe, so we could pull off from that. However, a geotechnical engineer needs to now look at if there's future rain, is there the possibility of more mud, and if so, what kind of measures can be taken proactively before the next rain to help minimize, possibly not prevent, but at least minimize impacts to the community. We've referred them to a geotechnical engineer that we've used that I think provides very practical solutions, and hopefully can come up with some, ideas in this case, and then we will debrief and keep involved with the information on that. We've also referred them to, we just happen to have our contractor in town cleaning out our storm drains, and that's another effort. They need to go and remove the dirt that has plugged up the storm drain system in the community, and we've referred them, the HOA, to our contractor, and who can maybe give them some advice, if not help, with their cleanup. So we've put them in touch with the resources they need, the HOA needs to manage the incident from this point. We are, Public Works is again going to continue to coordinate, and we will develop our own strategy to see if there happens to be additional incidents throughout the winter, how we might even be able to respond more quickly to move debris more quickly again from the street if we need to. Of course, the primary goal being to prevent homes from being damaged, and so we'll be involved throughout this process, if not, certainly offering our expertise.
Questions, Mr. Little?
Do you have an estimate of what amount of cost the city's incurred in this operation to date?
No, I don't. We are putting that information now together as far as the number of man hours spent and the cost of our equipment. We also had a contract that that we'll have to get the invoice from that. So we'll have that information, but we're still assembling it.
I'd like to see it when you finish. Thank you.
Tom,
Mr. Morgan?
I have a question. Tom, when I was out there, I heard that when the fire burned so hot, it created like a crystalline level below 8-10 inches, and that when it rained, it makes that slip, the top part of it, slip more easy off of that. How long does it take to break that down?
Yeah, that I don't know. You're right, and that as we did, we hiked up the hillside up towards the mountains with the county geologist and kicked some of the mud away, and it was only about a half an inch deep before we hit dry soil. So that tells you that the water was not percolating into the ground. It was running off and carrying mud with it. Also, because of the fire, there just isn't any vegetation with the root system to hold the mud back, and that's the other problem. If you look at photos from a few years ago before the fire compared to now, you can see a dramatic difference in the amount of green in the photos. And those are the kind of things that the geotechnical engineer, and they may bring in another expert as well to try and, this isn't the first time there's been a fire and dealing with trying to prevent mud flows afterwards, so they'll hopefully have some good strategies that can be employed fairly quickly to try and manage the situation as best as possible.
Any other questions? I believe we have a couple of the public who wants to comment here. Turn that on. Okay, Barbara Williams. Barbara's here tonight.
City Council, I represent myself as a member of the Springs within the Camarillo Springs community. We are a small community of seniors within this wonderful city of Camarillo. First, I want to thank the city employees who worked side by side with the fire
Barbara, can you, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Thank you. Sorry.
First, I want to thank the city employees who worked side by side with the fire department and the sheriff's department long hours on Saturday, November 1st on San Como Lane and Gitana Avenue. It was dark and dangerous. The debris flow was filled with rocks bigger than my fist, mud, branches, and limbs. As in Henry and Mim Needham's case, their house was surrounded and filled with waist-high mud and debris. Other people had mud and debris fill their back and side yards, and in some cases go up their driveway and block their exit from their garages. The few that actually could evacuate were led down slippery and dangerous streets filled with a sticky mud and the debris. For many, it would have been more dangerous to leave the confined to their homes, so they stationed in place. They were ready to leave if they had to. For the large part, these are people on fixed incomes who have put everything into their homes. Last year, our community, city officials, and representatives of the federal government met and identified the risks to the Springs by the fire on May 2nd. One risk was realized early Saturday morning. The team last year identified a mitigation step that should we have the kind of rainfall we had last Friday night, it would have helped. The money never materialized, as do many promises from the federal government. We will never know if the mitigation plan would have helped. We were so lucky no lives were lost. To have the city leading the charge to get help and support for my friends and neighbors just reaffirms why I and many of my neighbors love living in this community. City and county personnel came back on Monday and did a thorough investigation of what happened to establish a plan for moving forward. Thank you for being a key part of that. It is not if this will happen again, it is when this happens again. I am so proud of this city, recognizing the need to mitigate the effects of future rains. Again, thank you with all of my heart. If there's anything we can do, you know from experience that we are not shy and will write letters and contact elected officials and let them know our feelings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Right there. If you could put that microphone real close to you, I'd appreciate it.
I got it.
Thank you.
I'm Henry Needham, address 6446 San Como Lane. I've been at... Barbara, please sit down.
Okay.
I've been living in the house since 2001. I've owned it since 1991. I retired from Simi Valley Unified School District, and I fought through bankruptcies and such to get the owner and wife out. On the way to Santa Barbara in 1992, I was coming down the grade headed towards Santa Barbara, and we were having one hell of a drain coming down as rain. I took the Springs off-ramp, came over to a house to look at that ramp coming down the top of the hill. There was not one drop of water came down from the mountain. Everything that came down was falling on that drain. All of the heavy rains that have come down since I've been involved in this property, not a drop of water has come down any place other than what fell on it. All the rest went underground through the drain, and I myself kept it clear after I moved in there. Springs Homeowners Association, about 2 2 or 3 years ago, had that drain cleaned out. Mr. Fing, you said it was a mud flow. We had a drastic fire, extremely hot, and what came down was debris flow that was left over and could not have gone down a 15-foot wide drain. Burned debris came down. I have some of it still left in my backyard if you have doubts about that. One stone that went through our house, and incidentally, when this whole thing started about 1:15 in the morning, for us, we were in bed asleep. I heard a rumbling. Sounds like thunder. I jumped out of the bed and I ran into my front hallway. I walked into water. I flipped on the light and it was mud. And my carpet that we had in the hallway had just about that much damp on it. I opened the door, took the carpet and threw it out on the driveway, hoping to save it. And then I looked over into my kitchen to see what was coming that way, and Mim came out of the bedroom, and she had put Tinkerbell down off the bed on the floor. Mim came into the hallway, and I came around and looking, and I said, I'm trying to find out what's happening. She's yelling, what's happening? I'm trying to find out. And I'm looking back down my hallway, and I see my sliding glass doors out to the sunroom come crushing in from the bottom. And within 3 shakes of a lamb's tail, my wife was on her back, going out through the door all the way to the curb. And that following her was our living room furniture. And if you doubt about it, my red chair that I sat to watch television in is still sitting on my driveway, upright, and my grandson from Phoenix, Arizona, has sent up, Grandpa, your chair is still good. It might be dirty on the bottom, but it actually came out through that standing up.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Tinkerbell was on the floor behind Mim, my wife. And she went into the front bedroom, jumped up on the couch, and what she didn't realize was she was jumping on an elevator because all the mud went under the couch and raised it about 4 feet off the floor. Actually, it wasn't quite that high because I don't think there's over 2 feet of mud in that front bedroom because it's level with the little shelter that she was sitting on in front of the window. She stayed in that couch. She's a little scaredy cat. And till she heard my son-in-law and my grandson's Sunday morning from Phoenix. She jumped off into the mud, swam over and got on the ledge, and Sean, my oldest grandson, was there to take all those pictures, and the fire department then arrived, and the fireman broke the window and took her out. You cannot imagine the misery that my wife and I went through. And because of the fire, I've been afraid this was going to happen because we never got a proper rain. Mr. Morgan, you are quite right. An extremely hot fire crystallizes the surfaces and such so that the water cannot penetrate, and all of the debris, natural debris, that dead and everything else that normally had stopped all of this flow was gone from the fire. The drain was inadequate to have held up under this heavy rain without that natural growth. That mountain had not been burned for 35 years when I moved in to my house. And I've been there since 2001. In fact, it was June of 2001 that I finally moved in. I'm a 34-year resident of Thousand Oaks. We live in one of the best climates and areas in the whole Dadburn nation, bar none. We have good services and good people. But one of the problems is that we've had so dead burn many tax cuts to the benefit of the wealthy that we don't have enough money to take and furnish this. World War II, this country and nation dominated because we had grand reserves. And we went on Lend-Lease programs to help half of the world beat an enemy. Today, we don't have enough money in reserve because we're so far in debt. We can't even keep our police. We can't keep our school children. And we've given tax cuts to people owning homes that shuffle them around without changing ownership by manipulating the rules and regulations and everything else. And we're giving tax credits to oil companies. We're giving tax credits in this country to people of stature to finance their planes that they fly. We need to get the funding to do the projects that we need to do in order to fix our infrastructure, in order to fix their communities so that they're protected as they should be.
Okay.
And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to rebuild my house.
Oh, good. That's good news.
And with the meeting that I've had today with the insurance company, structural engineer, I have to take and be very cautious when I remove all the mud outside and inside before, so that I don't do greater damage.
Mm-hmm.
And a stone went through my house right behind them, which was about 24 inches this way and at least 18 inches wide, and it's still sitting on my driveway.
Did it go inside your house, or did the stone?
Went through my house.
Okay.
There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. The only way it could have gotten where it was. I went out of my house with my pajama bottoms on and a T-shirt, and my wife went out in her pajamas, billfold, purse, papers, everything is under mud. We don't know where the purse went. I know where my billfold is if I can get to it. I wanted to go in and look for my puppy. I was not allowed in because the building had been condemned, and the 3 firemen that went in said they couldn't find her. You cannot imagine the nightmare that I spent. And I'll say it this way. If you had a 5-year-old daughter, and all of a sudden she went missing, and you didn't know where she was, and you didn't know how to find her, and you had a great, tremendous thought in your mind as to what had happened to her, and you would really, really, really be cringing from the fears. And all of a sudden she returned back, and she was perfect.
Oh, that's good news.
With minor situations because of the residue in the slop that she jumped into when she came off of the couch. Wow. And to me, that was a miracle.
Yeah, that's great.
And in fact,
where did they find the dog? Do you know where was the dog?
Sir?
Was a dog in the house?
Yes.
Oh, they found it in the house. Okay, good.
You didn't hear what I said? She ran into the front bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Jumped up on the couch, and all the mud and such went under the couch and raised it up.
Oh.
And she was sitting there high and dry all the time, and I thought she was under all of the mud.
Wow.
You cannot imagine how happy I was.
I'll bet. Yeah. Did you, I think Mr.
I would like for Mr. Feng to correct his report. It was not a mudslide. It was a debris flow. Because mud is not chunks of wood 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches around and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 feet long. Mud is mud, and I know the difference. I grew up in Texas.
I think Mr. Little has a question. Did you have a question here? If you got a minute here.
Yeah, you've got help to get your house back into some kind of a...
Sir, I live in a community that, unbelievable. I didn't ask anyone for any assistance, but I've had help.
That's good. That's great.
However, the financial amounts involved in this, I hope, will be covered because of the fire instead of the water that came down, which brought all the debris down into my house and on my property because of the fire.
Seems that it should. So, well, I think you've heard that the city is here to help, and we'll proceed as best we can on following up on our what areas we can undertake and get.
My meeting with the insurance company and adjusters is, I will know next Monday which way I'm going to have to flow.
Please keep us informed.
And it is the responsibility of the Homeowners Association, the City of Camarillo, through their permit letting, to provide adequate protection to the community, citizens of this community. And after the fire, there was recommendations made in case we had a flood coming down the hill. It would have been, number one, it was inadequate. And you cannot know that where you have not been, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your comments. Any other? Okay.
I just think...
I did one other comment if you want.
No, I just want to say that we're so thankful that you are okay, your wife is okay, and we're so glad to hear that you found Tinkerbell. Because I can just, as an animal lover, I know what you went through that night. Your house was important to you, but the loss of someone that you cared about, your dog, was probably more devastating than anything else.
This is McDonald, and I'll call you Jan.
Absolutely.
Jan, the house is important. It can be fixed. It can be repaired. The child cannot.
Absolutely. So we are so glad you're all okay.
Missing. A non-animal lover cannot comprehend that.
I know how it is.
I think Mr. Morgan had a question.
What's strange is the dog was in there, and with so much noise and racket and everybody, because I stood in front of your house, and it seems like he would have made some noise and all that stuff going on, but he didn't. He was just scared?
Yes.
All day long.
She's a little scaredy cat.
Ah.
And I was across the street wanting to go back over there, and they wouldn't let me go. It's condemned. And the fire department did take me up along Mr. Glubick Bill's property, and I saw that the water was still flowing. The 3/4 inch hot water line, not hot water, but it's active.
Yep.
To the sprinkler system. I told the fire department where to go to turn it off, and the man went over there and he turned off the water to the house, but he didn't turn it off to the sprinkler system.
Oh.
Anyway. Because he couldn't get down to it. He didn't have a shovel. But they did get it turned off.
Good.
And
well, we're happy that you're okay too. That's very important.
Mr. Mayor, I had one comment. I've reviewed the resolution before you this evening and the proclamation, and I don't, in terms of terminology, I don't see any reference to the word mud flow or mudslide. But I will make sure that our official minutes have the word debris and to strike the word mudflow or mudslide. I am very well aware of the legal implications of the difference in the two definitions of those words, so we will make sure that the official record uses the right terminology. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Council, I believe... Proceed.
I move to adopt a resolution confirming the existence of a local emergency.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. That passes unanimously. Before I adjourn, would anybody else that would like to make any public comments on this issue? No. Okay, seeing no one, we are going to adjourn to our November 19th meeting at 5 p.m. Thank you all.